Now, from what I understand, ABC had a very simple management structure, yet the corporate structure itself was very complex and has even been described as a labyrinth of hundreds of regional sub-companies. Surely this combination would have made it very difficult to retain tight control over the organisation.
Yes, absolutely. ABC began as a small family-based business. However, even as it grew, it continued to operate under the same simple management structure. It lacked the professional structure it required to meet the demands of a rapidly growing multi-billion-dollar organisation. The simple management structure also meant that decision-making was very much centralised with the top management team, and in particular with Eddie Groves himself. So even though Eddie was very good at what he did, nobody can spread themselves as thin or as widely as that. So with the organisation becoming so large and so complex, and with his attention so focused on overseas expansion, there was a loss of control over the Australian operations. And this subsequently played a big role in the significant cost blowouts and drop in profits.
I'd also like to talk in a bit more detail about this issue of lack of control. Firstly, it's thought that a lot of ABC's problems came from the extent and expense of its acquisitions and the huge debts that were subsequently taken on. If this was such a problem, why didn't the board put a stop to this empire-building behaviour? Surely this indicates a lack of monitoring and control on their part.
The board certainly seemed to lack personal control over Eddie and the management team. It's believed that they did actually make several suggestions that ABC stop making acquisitions. However, this was largely ignored by Eddie until the board was forced to make an explicit ruling in late 2007 that finally put a stop to it. But by this stage, much of the damage had already been done, and ABC had accumulated a $1.4 billion debt. So yes, I think they certainly should have acted earlier and maintained firmer control over the situation.
Could this also tie in with poor output controls within the organisation? It's been revealed that the ABC accounts were in a terrible mess, so it must have been very difficult for them to know exactly what was going on or to have tight financial controls in place.
Definitely, the accounts were a disgrace. Accounting methods were extraordinarily complex and dubious. For example, items were counted as revenues that shouldn't have been, and the value of intangibles was inflated. So this masked how profitable the organisation really was and strengthened the apparent value of the balance sheet. Not only did this fuel ABC's ongoing expansion and accumulating debt, but it also meant that the poor financial state of the organisation went unnoticed, so that nobody acted to rectify the situation, causing costs to blow out and profits to fall. So I suppose that even if there were financial controls in place, with the accounts in this state, measurement would have been completely inaccurate.
Finally, I just want to move on to your views of whether ABC's culture played a role in its collapse.
To an extent, it did. ABC promoted values based on quality childcare, but its actual culture displayed something quite different. With ABC's main focus on expansion, it lost sight of its supposed values. So in an attempt to boost profits, workers' wages were suppressed, and in addition they were grossly overworked, taking on additional duties such as paperwork and cleaning, which meant that they had minimal time to spend with the children. Therefore, employees had a lack of incentive and a lack of time to provide quality childcare, which led to the perception that corporate chains such as ABC do not provide the same level of care that community-based or smaller private centres do.
And I can imagine that this did not exactly have a good impact on their profit levels.
That's it.
Thanks for joining us.
No worries.